What is up, people? Aqua here, and this is going to be my Elden Ring Masochist run. So I'm going to spend this episode explaining what we're going to be doing here and laying out the rules. There are three main rules to this. In the background, I'll just be assembling my character and all that stuff, so don't pay too much attention to that. I'm just going to set up my character and get going. We're going to start on level 1. So we have to pick the Wretch class. That is the only one that starts on level 1. Every Souls-like game has a class like that. So that's what we want here. The three main rules for this run are: you have to start on Soul level 1. We are not allowed to level up, so we are going to make it as far in the game as we can on that level. And I'm not a challenge runner or anything. I'm probably just a moderately skilled Souls player. The intro cinematic will play here. But anyway, I'm just a moderately skilled Souls player. So you're not going to be seeing me parrying any bosses without getting hit or anything crazy like that. I am just going to treat this kind of like a puzzle game. I wanted to put some restrictions on myself and see how far I can get. So I don't really know if I'll be able to beat this. We will see what happens. But let's get going. So the first rule, as I said, was we were going to play on Soul or Rune Level 1. We always called it Soul Level 1 before, so that's probably how I'll refer to it out of habit. The next rule is that we are going to play with the HUD off the entire time. That makes things very tricky because you don't know where any boss's health is as you are fighting them. So it can be kind of demoralizing or interesting to fight them without any visual feedback from the health bar. You kind of just have to really learn the ins and outs of the fight and get good enough to beat it under any circumstances. You can't really use any tricks to get your way through when you don't know how much health they have exactly. Multi-phase bosses kind of have one tell in that halfway through the fight they will either get a new health bar or just change phases, so you can kind of tell where when you're about halfway through the fight, and that's all I really have to go on. And some bosses don't even have that at all, so you're just completely in the dark in that regard. The next rule is that no human summons are allowed. So even under these restrictions, if I was summoning other players, we could run into a situation where I summoned other human players and they just beat the boss for me by themselves. I don't want that to be possible, so no human summons will be allowed either. I'm going to have to do this entirely on my own with the sandbox that was programmed into the game and nothing else. But I'm making this game very hard for myself, so under those restrictions I'm allowing myself to use anything else. Any broken weapons or items. I'll use Ash summons if I'm able to get any, and anything else at my disposal. So forgive me if any of my audio isn't too great. I haven't done this in a while. It's kind of hard to just keep my stream of consciousness flowing. I'm really out of practice, but I thought this would be fun. So let's get going on it. We'll just let this intro cinematic finish out here. It's about over. These are going to be some of the characters we meet along the way and some bosses for anyone that isn't familiar with the game. I think that's the end of it. So everything I have recorded here is previously recorded already. I'm not playing live. I just kind of wanted to cut these clips together, play on my own and handle things, then cut it together and talk over it. This is our character.
Whom grace would again bless. A tarnished of no renown.
I am playing right now on PS4 on version 1.04, and it becomes 1.05 quickly. 1.05 is the current version as I'm playing right now. When I recorded this footage, I think I was on 1.04. All that really means is that some of the exploits that were available when the game first came out have been patched, so there are a couple things that made it a little more tricky for me along the way, and in some ways it might be beneficial, but we'll see down the road. Okay, and here's our first moment actually in control of the character. Start there. I think that's just a multiplayer item. I don't really think that matters to us. Turn the camera around and get inside the skull of my character for a second there. The Chapel of Anticipation, there's not really much going on here yet. So this character starts with the club here. I really wasn't a fan of this weapon. I tried out its weapon art there. It just kind of lets you do like a chain strong attack kind of thing. Yeah, you can see it right there. That's what that red aura around me is right now. Use the left trigger, or whatever, L2 on PlayStation, I think. And you basically just get to go into a frenzy mode and chain strong attacks for a minute. It looks okay. Now, all you do in this part, this is basically a tutorial area. I skipped the actual tutorial. There's an underground area with a soldier, or no, that's not even in this part. That'll be coming up in a minute. So there's a grafted scion here. You can fight it if you want. You're basically just supposed to die here. It's possible to kill it, but it's basically impossible unless you're an extremely skilled player. So I just run behind the shrine here. Also, you can see in the bottom right there, if you didn't catch it, I will be counting my deaths as we go. Even though these videos will be edited and cut together, I will include every single death that happens and just kind of keep a running tally. So I thought that might be fun. Now, after the scripted death, we spawn in the actual tutorial area over in Limgrave. Here we are waking up there. There is a tutorial boss down here and just a few pretty easy enemies. So, our first order of business once we get out of here, our character starts with no armor and a pretty bad weapon, so I'm looking to upgrade those immediately, get any kind of armor on myself. This is the horse we will be able to ride pretty soon. We'll be beelining right for that as soon as possible, as well for the mobility.
Don't worry, Torrent. Fortune is on her
I kind of
side.
just let all the cutscenes play out.
Found her here
No big
after
deal.
all.
I figure everyone that likes Elden Ring has probably seen this stuff already, but I'll just let the cutscenes play once. If we're fighting bosses, I'll let them do their thing one time, and then I'll just be skipping it from then on.
One of her kind
From then
is
on.
sure to seek the Elden Ring.
That is Melina. She shows up at Sites of Grace and talks to you sometimes, gives you like some lore. Alright. Cutscene over. Now we're just gonna stand up and do the tutorial area. This is in the first area of the game, Limgrave. There's an optional tutorial area here. It has like a mini boss in it, but the mini boss is basically just like one normal enemy plucked from the outside world that you just fight really quick. It's no big deal, so I'm just going to attempt that boss really quick, get through it. The Flask of Crimson Tears we're given here. That is your Estus Flask from Dark Souls that replenishes your health. We start with 3 charges, 4 if I turn the blue one into one of the health ones as well, which I believe I'll be doing pretty quickly. Here's a Site of Grace. Not really ever gonna need that one for much, but this will be our starting point. Now we're going to cut forward. This is where I actually start fighting enemies. Bloody character. Okay. And now we're at the Soldier of Godric already. So, you basically just missed me fighting some boring enemies, no deaths in there. Gotta set up my emotes really quick, I guess. There we go. All set for the boss. This is attempt 1 at Soldier of Godric. Godric is the first main boss that can give you a great rune. You need 2 of those to get into the late part of the game. So we'll be coming after him soon. Don't really know what I was doing there. I think I was just overconfident running in there, because he's pretty much just a normal enemy that you've fought a million times before. Didn't really even bother to dodge. So there's another death for us, and we'll pick that back up. If you're not familiar with the Souls games, you basically have a currency that you use for your level ups called runes in this game. So I just recovered those. Probably had a few on me. Now we are going to take this a little more tactically. I go for the big weapon art strong attack combo there. That was a decent dodge finally. I'm still getting hit a lot. Even at soul level 1, you can tank a couple hits from this guy, so that's how easy he is. No problem there. Always give an emote when they lose. And I ran through the end of the tutorial here. And now this is going to be another part of my strategy. I'm going to try to farm messages, because if someone rates your message positively, it refills your health. So the more of those I have going, the better off for my character. I can just get passive healing at random times. I won't ever know when I'm getting them, but just randomly while I'm playing, it might refill my health, so that couldn't be a bad thing. So you can watch the messages I drop. I'm basically just scumming all like the most common ways to use messages. Not doing anything fancy. Right up here, through that door, there is a chariot boss. Not really a boss, but a chariot type enemy. And that's a really annoying area to go through, but there's some good things down there. There's a good ash summon, and there's a good dragon seal over there. Not talisman, I wanted to say. Okay, new message. I like this one. I was doing this even when I was playing the game when it came out. These messages drive people crazy. Just put like first off lever above any lever that you walk up to for the first time. That lever does nothing. A bunch of new players just run up to that, try to mess with the lever. It does absolutely nothing. And then they rate it poorly and get mad at me. But some people rate it positively, and it brings in a lot of attention. So I'm just going to be doing, like I said, anything I can to get message impressions. And here we are. This is the first look at Limgrave. Beautiful area. Drop another message. And as we play, you'll probably start seeing some messages get rated as we play. It just says, message was appraised anytime anyone in their game walks up to your message, likes it or dislikes it, and then they rate it good or bad. But the more times I can get a positive appraisal, the better for me, because that's basically just free passive healing. Grab this Site of Grace. For anyone that doesn't know, the Sites of Grace are basically your respawn points. If you sit at one of those and you die, you will respawn at that point. This guy is an NPC that tells you to go to Stormvale Castle. That is the castle up on the cliff up there. That is where the first Great Rune is. That's our first main objective. We will be heading there as soon as possible. I'd like to get some decent gear before we head up there. I should be able to just farm some easier enemies, get some armor, and a different weapon. Like I said, this club really wasn't my thing. I didn't know that weapon art had... It looks like it staggered him, so I didn't know that even affected people if you used that near them. Okay, this guy here is the Tree Sentinel. This is a serious enemy. There's really no reason to engage with him yet. I would basically have no chance of beating him as I am now. We will upgrade our character and try to come back to that later. Now these, my thinking on killing these was they drop thin beast bones. Those can be used to craft arrows later. So I was thinking I might use those for crafting, so you might see me killing some small animals here and there. We're going to just try to get away from the Tree Sentinel. There's another Site of Grace up here in the church. Golden Rune 2, I can pop that to give myself some souls anytime I want. Runes. But we activated the Site of Grace, but the Tree Sentinel came in here right behind us, so he is just gonna destroy the church. And I like on that one, he actually hit the donkey thing that sits with all the merchants. He hit that thing in the face and just killed me, so that was kind of funny. That is another death. This merchant's pretty helpful. He has some nice starting items. He could be the source of our first set of armor. Just run out the dialogue of any character we run into really quick, because sometimes that can be beneficial.
You know, you should buy us a crafting essential. The kit costs but the import.
He basically just has like a crafting kit, so I'd have to buy that to craft those arrows like I was talking about before. Got some cookbooks and stuff like that. Nothing too great, but he does have a cheap set of armor, the chainmail set, so that's something I might set my eyes on at some point. That would probably be the cheapest set of armor I have access to right now.
I'm glad you took my...
And over here's a smithing table and a smithing stone. Those are used to upgrade your weapons. So I won't be investing anything into this club, I promise you. I wanted to get rid of that as soon as I possibly could. Then I just wander off, like, kind of to the left of that building. There's a cave over here and just some normal enemies, so I'll farm some runes for a minute by killing these easy enemies. They are not much of a threat at all. And just one torch guy. Alright, that's all cleaned up. I think I left some items down on the ground behind me. Not like it matters a whole lot though. They don't drop anything good. Then this is a dungeon. So you just open this up. There will be a Site of Grace on the inside as soon as you go in. And all of these basically just have some enemies and maybe a little puzzle in front of them, and then there will be a boss fight at the end. So our goal here is just to get to the end of this cave and get to the boss and see how we can do. These spirit guys are all over the game. They kind of just give you some lore. Okay, so I look in here. There's an imp directly across from me. These are really fast attacking, annoying enemies. There was also one on the left that caught me off guard. I don't know how I didn't remember he was there. So we handle him, and then the imp across the room hits us with an arrow, with a dagger, throwing dagger. So there we go, taken out by the imps. I've always had problems with them. They are like basically the thralls from Dark Souls 3 reskinned, and those have always been enemies that I'm just not good at dealing with at all. I think I went for a strong attack there. I don't know why I even tried that. Just the mobility of these guys and their ability to chain attacks, and they also have ranged attacks, is really annoying, especially on a character that has no armor or anything. But we got that one. Hit this one with a big attack, take him out. That room's finally cleared. Gave him an emote. That's basically a boss to me. Root resin. That stuff's okay. You can make like oils later that coat your weapons, and they can give you some extra damage. From this point, I just leave that area. Didn't really feel like I was going to be able to make much progress there yet. And now I come out here, want to kill some enemies. I basically just want to start saving up money to get a different weapon or different armor immediately. The faster we can gear this character up, the better. This area basically is the main road to Godric's Castle, otherwise known as Stormvale Castle. So we're just going to head in this general direction. You have to go this way to get the horse as well, so that's at the top of our priority list. Big attack, didn't even take that guy out. Alright, kukris and bolts, probably not really going to come up for us. We'll see if we can do anything with them. I'm trying to use the entire sandbox I have at my disposal as well as I can. Any enemy I can glitch or exploit with anything I've got is better for me. Like I said at the beginning, I'm treating this more like a puzzle game. I'm good enough to beat the game with the normal tools, like if you're leveling up and all that, but I'm definitely not a challenge runner. This is the first time I've done anything like this, but I know this game pretty well at this point. So, sitting at this side of Grace, Melina comes back, and this is where you get the horse, known as Torrent. And then after that, you have the ability to just ride Torrent anytime out in the overworld, and that moves things along a lot more quickly, gives you the ability to just sprint around the map very quickly.
Greetings,
so we'll be taking advantage of that.
traveler from beyond.
Let this
the
cutscene
fog.
play for a second.
I am Melina. I offer you an accord.
She has a 3-finger mark on one of her eyes. That she seems like she has some
you
kind of
heard of
bad
the
relationship
Finger
with
Maidens?
the Chaos faction in this game, but
They serve
I'm not really the
the
person
two
to explain that to you.
Offering guidance and aid to the tarnished. But you, I am afraid, are
It's this whole thing at the
maidenless.
beginning of the game where every character comes up to you and tells you you're
I can
maidenless.
play the role of
Kind of a
maiden,
meme. But
turning runes into strength to aid you.
the
in your
people
search for
seeking the Elden Ring are supposed to have a maiden.
You
We
can take
don't have
anything
one, so she effectively becomes that, and she helps
to
us
the
get to
foot
the end of the
Erd
game.
Tree.
And all she wants from us is to be taken to the foot of the Erd Tree. So the Erd Tree is the biggest giant tree that you can see in the skybox in this
When
game,
it's settled, summon me. I bequeath.
and we will be heading there soon enough. So the
Use it
spectral
will summon
steed
the
whistle
torrent
is
to
what
treat
calls
him.
Torrent and lets us ride the horse.
Shall I turn you? Let my hand.
And
share
also at this point, she lets you start leveling up. Now, we're not going to use that, because we're not allowed. But we've already gotten 1 golden seed from our starting class. That was my starting gift when I started the game. That effectively just gives me 1 extra flask. It's, there are plenty of seeds in this game. You get maxed out at 14 flasks, so you can definitely max out even without taking that, but that just gives you 1 free early one, so I figured I'd take that. All of these chariots have a treasure chest on them, so that just gave me a free sword. The other one is over here. That has a different item on it. Now, the complicated thing about the weapons is going to be that we are level 10 in every category on this level 1 character. So basically, every weapon has some kind of skill requirement. I was lucky I didn't even die there. I got hit right in the back. Okay, so we got a flail there. I believe both of those were too high level for me to even wield. So we're looking for something that we can wield at soul level 10. Later in the game, we might find some ways to cheat that and kind of alter our stats using other items. There's also a map fragment over here. This game has a really cool in-game map that you just find 1 piece of at a time, and that will reveal the central Limgrave part of the map for us. That's our first map piece. And you can see that army just sprinting at me there, so I'll sit down really quick and reset the map. Now we've got the horse, looking pretty nice out here. One of these, like, bat enemies, not really worth my time. They don't drop anything. And we are going to head off again. There's another side of Grace here. I'm basically just going to take every side of Grace I see. I don't know which ones I'll need and which ones I don't, so if you ever see me ride past one, I'm probably just going to grab it. Now, those Stormfront catacombs are the first one we went into with the 2 imps. So, I put a marker there letting me know that there's still something to do there. I have not killed the boss in that area, so I might get back to that just to get some runes to spend at some point. And then over here, I mark another one that I know about. Up here is different catacombs. So, I'll just jump in there really quick, see what's going on. I was terrible with this club. I couldn't hit anything with this thing. I'm usually just like a sword player. I don't know, this thing was not working with me, so... Priority number 1 is getting myself some kind of sword that I feel comfortable with. Okay. Now, I forgot to get the torch from the Merchant Kale at the beginning. That was a mistake. And at this point, I didn't even remember that he had that torch. I realized this later. So this cave's gonna be pretty dark until I get some way to light it up. Oh yeah, I just go into the settings, change the brightness up to 10 for now. So hopefully that'll help us. Trust me, it's just as dark for me as it is for you right now. This was kind of uncomfortable. On the left up here is a whole wolf pack. There's one like mother wolf, that's the strongest one, it takes the most hits, and the other weaker ones don't take long to kill, but if they swarm you, you can get in big trouble. So you definitely never want to be fighting more than one of these things at a time. I kind of got myself in a bad situation here. That one just poked me and got back. I try to escape back to the entrance. Here's the mother wolf. Just completely whiffed there. It's not staggering at all from my hits, then it chain hits me and ends that. There is death number 5 for the run. So, yeah, dogs in these games are always annoying. Dogs, wolves, that's just what they do. So I attempt this again, gonna try to be smarter about it this time. Again, if I just had like a slashing sword, I feel like this would be a lot easier. The club kind of hits like up to down in a straight line. It really doesn't have much coverage in front of you. So I'm just gonna try to take these one at a time. That was a jumping attack off the top ledge. That probably did some decent damage. This thing probably just needs another hit or two. Go for the big chain combo. Thing's got respectable health for this early in the game. And then I didn't even realize that that other wolf was behind me over there, so I just take off. Then there's yet another wolf. Now I am being aggroed by 3 wolves at once. Get back to the entrance and try to take them one at a time. Since it's kind of a bottleneck, it's easier to line them up one at a time this way. I'm checking my rune count there. So, one annoying thing about this run I'm doing is with the HUD off, normally you would just have your runes displayed and you would always know how many you have. I have to pause constantly and check my status screen to even know how many runes I'm holding. So, that's a little tricky. I have to do a lot of in-fight and quick pausing to check how many flasks I have, how many runes I have. You'll see me doing that throughout the entire run. That is basically my only way to know what's going on at all, so get used to that. Okay, and this is a very small little cave. I really did not like the jump attack on this thing. The jump attacks are one of the strongest things you can do in this game, especially early on, like it's just kind of a bread and butter play. But this jump attack just was missing everything all the time, and you'll see that again in a minute, I promise. The jump attack on this thing was killing me. Okay, golden one, that's good. That's free runes anytime we want them. And if we die, they aren't removed from our inventory. That's the advantage of getting items like that. Dead soldier over here. Likely out of stamina. Good message. And then these gold fog doors are always for the boss encounters. So inside this one is the Beastman of Faramazula. Faramazula is literally like the last level in the game. And this is the Beastman. These are common enemies in that area, but out here he's a boss because he's in Limgrave at the beginning of the game. Looks like I'm already out of health blast when I ran in here. And you can see there I go for a couple jump attacks and they just completely whip on this guy. He gets a free kill. Easy for him. This jump attack was absolutely killer for me. So I'm just going to skip right into the next boss fight. And you can see how this goes again. I do have like over 1,000 souls on me right now. And sorry if it annoys you, but I will be calling these things probably souls instead of runes, and bonfires instead of grace. I'm just wired for that. So another jump attack miss. This guy's an agile enemy that can chain attacks up pretty quickly. He does one big combo with an overhead attack. I know how to fight him pretty well, but I kept putting myself in bad situations by missing these jump attacks and not recovering. Again, he just spins in the opposite direction of my jump attack. It hits the ground, he spins out of it, and I'm in trouble. I'm doing nothing to this guy. I'm not hitting him with anything. Again, it's like automatic. If I go for the jump attack, he just spins out of it. And this is big jump attack combo. That's probably his most dangerous combo. He can hit several times in the middle of that, and then the last attack's very damaging. Goes for that every once in a while. That's his biggest move. Most of the time he just goes for like 1 or 2 hit combos. I guess a 1-hit combo isn't really a combo. He usually goes for 2 or 3 hit combos. Overhead slam. So, I've lived in here for a while. I can dodge him alright at this point. But I am doing basically nothing to him offensively. My plan was to just abuse the jump attacks because they're the strongest thing you can do in this situation. But the way this guy just spins out of my jump attack was killing me. I went for that so many times, and he just got out of it every single time. I barely even touched this guy in this fight, even for as long as I was alive. There's 1 hit, finally. I get greedy and go for a follow-up R1, and got hit because of it. At this point in the game, I wasn't really too worried about like beating any of this stuff. I was kind of just feeling out what I could do with this character. And all this fight really told me was that I really don't like this club, and it's time to get something else. So, Beastman takes another life, and that's that. Now, back into Limgrave. We're just going to head outside and not worry about that for now. We're going to gear up before we deal with that guy. So we put another marker there. I use those ones to just kind of indicate that there's more content to do. That gray thing is an Everjail. Those hold pretty powerful bosses. Those have like the strongest bosses out in the Limgrave map, and you're not allowed to like summon for those or anything, so they're a little more tricky at the beginning of the game. So I just mark that in case I ever feel like doing that. Don't really know if I'll need to for anything, but there are several bosses just right in this area that I can kill once I'm ready to get some runes. Now, we are just going to head up towards Stormvale Castle. This is the Stormgate. There's a giant up above here, who you can maybe hear dropping down below me as I run by. That giant's kind of dangerous. Don't really think I could kill him right now, but we're just basically going to sprint through this area, grab the items on the ground as we go. Those guys with the horns will basically call every other soldier in the immediate area to aggro on their spot. Here's a golden seed. Those golden trees are just little like sprouts of the Erd tree. Anytime you see one of those, they should have a golden seed by them, and that is how you get more healing and magic flasks. So you want to grab those anytime you ride by one of those. So that effectively just gave us one more healing flask already. That's very good. This guy sells weapon arts.
Yes, Yura takes me back. Any interest? All I know now,
also known as Ashes of War in this game. So he has some that we're gonna need. I want to get the no skill one. You can put that like on your shield, and then whatever skill you have on your right hand weapon will just bleed through and will not interfere with the shield anymore if it has no skill on it. So that's one I want to pick up very fast. Most of the things he has are very cheap too, so we'll be utilizing that guy pretty soon. And here we are at Limgrave's Coliseum. Nothing really to do over there, but you can get invaded over here by the Coliseum. that turns off your ability to use the horse, and you're supposed to just fight them. I didn't really want anything to do with that at this point. I don't really know that enemy that well, so I'm sure I just wasted him in my normal run, so I don't really even know what he does. So I just get out of the area. We can fight him later if we want. For now, we're just taking the main road to Stormvale Castle. We'll interact with all the NPCs on the road on the way here. There are several important NPCs. That's a trap. Just get some wolves falling out of the sky. We'll grab this Grace really quick. And I believe the NPC Roderica is over here. She is the spirit tuner. So when you get Ash summons later in the game, she can upgrade them. So we definitely want to talk to her because we will be utilizing those eventually. Clean these wolves up first, though. I should have just sat at the Grace. I don't know why I thought I could get away with that. Okay. So just run out her dialogue really quick, and then she will go to the hub area later. Yet another wolf in the middle of the dialogue. These things are all over me. Guess that makes sense. I think 3 spawned in when I rode by. Okay, I think we're finally safe here. It does give us more thin beast bones, and stone sword key is good. You use those to get into secret areas that have like a fog wall in front of them. The only way to get into them is by using a stone sword key in a lot of places. So, run this out. She gives us the spirit jellyfish ashes. That is good because that's our first spirit summon. Those can be summoned in most boss fights, and they help you to fight the boss. On a soul level 1 run, that is going to be very helpful. The spirit jellyfish basically is just kind of tanky, and it can poison your opponents, so it's pretty helpful early in the game. I like that one. Okay. Those little scarab bugs, if you kill them, they drop Ashes of War or upgrade materials usually. The silver ones at least. So we wanted to kill that. We got an Ash of War. Don't really think I'll be using that one, but I don't really remember what all those guys have, so I'll probably just be hitting every single one I see because there are some good ones I'm definitely going to want. Okay. Use the Grace to reset the enemy aggro. We almost got ran down over here. And up in the boss door in this area is Margit the Fell Omen, who is actually a very respectable first story boss. He basically just gatekeeps Stormvale Castle, and until you can beat him, you can't get into Stormvale. And Stormvale is the first area that holds a Shard Bearer, and we need to kill 2 of those before we can go to Lanedell and go towards the end of the game. Lanedell is the royal capital, and you're not allowed in until you have 2 Great Runes. So Godric's definitely probably the easiest one, either him or Renala. And I'll be setting my sights on Godric as soon as possible. But before that, we have to deal with Margit. And Margit is arguably even harder than Godric. Margit is a pretty respectable boss, and that is because he is one of the final bosses, just kind of simplified a little bit. And you get to fight him as your first main story boss. So he's pretty good. I would have no chance fighting him here. So my strategy here is I want to get to the Round Table Hold. That's basically your hub area where a lot of the NPCs in the game hang out, and you get like shops and stuff. So I want to make it there. But to get there, you have to just fight Margit once, or really just start the battle with him. So my plan here is just to trigger the start of the fight and then get out. So this guy's cool. Margit and his later version Morgott are some of my favorite bosses in the game. I think they have very telegraphed, readable moves. I think they're just fun to fight over and over again. I always like fighting them. They're a good time for me. They're cool too. But we're not interested right now. I'm just going to try to sacrifice my runes and get out of here. He immediately punishes with his dagger attack. He is not going to let me do that. It takes about a second to pop this item. This will teleport me back to the last site of grace I was at, if I can get it to work. Really not a big deal. Like, even if I died, I'm losing my runes either way, just by using the item, but I wanted the stylish exit, I guess. Then we just talk to Melina again over here, and she will let us into the round table hold, and that's going to be some pretty good progress.
Very well, let my hand.
Alright, so we'll save Margit for a little later. He's going to be a problem. We're going to want to gear up before we fight him. And here we are at the round table hold. Now there are several new NPCs, and some of, like Rodrika, the one I was just showing you a minute ago, on the path to Stormvale. She'll end up here. A lot of important NPCs hang out here, so it's important we get access to this as soon as possible. There's an NPC down over that balcony. This guy sells, like, face spells, which I was interested in at this point. He sells, like, just a basic fireball, so I wanted to get my hands on that as soon as possible. The flame sling I was just looking at. This guy's Gideon Offnear, the all-knowing from the intro. Don't really know how all-knowing he is. He's kind of a loser, but he's part of the story. Get him later.
Allow me, you, a house kid. Remember you.
His entire armor is just covered in, like, ears. Kind of weird look. Then we got our blacksmith Hugh. This guy's cool. He's gonna help us do everything we need to do. That's where you go to upgrade your weapons. And he'll also help you, like, duplicate Ashes of War and things like that. That's Gideon's room. Edgelord here. Every single person puts a message in front of that NPC that says Edgelord. It was kind of funny when the game came out, but people are still doing that. That's a lame message. I think I'd delete that one pretty quick. No one was going to upvote that. Edgelord. Then on our right over here is the Twin Maiden Husks. That's a shopkeeper that is very useful. You can kind of upgrade it over the course of the game, and it just keeps getting more and more stuff to sell. I put a message there. That's not mine. That one's mine. That's kind of a good message. I think that does get some messages getting appraised pretty soon. I get some appraisals on that one after a while. Okay, now this shopkeeper has several different starting weapons, and a couple that we can actually use. This short spear is something I have my eye on. It takes 10 strength, 10 dex, so we can wield it right now. That's great. That's something we want to get our hands on. And there's also the finger seal, a couple spaces to the right of it. This thing will let us cast spells. So if we get that and the fireball spell, we can just immediately start casting fireballs. So I'm just going to burn all the souls I had in my inventory. We can just use these whenever we want. That'll just immediately add them, and we can spend them on whatever we want. So we're at 3,400 now. That is plenty to get the finger seal. And also to the right of the finger seal is the heater shield, I believe, which has 100% physical damage negation, so that's great as well. We'll be keeping our eye on that as well. So I grab a short sword and a finger seal. Now, as soon as we buy the fireball, we will be capable of throwing fireballs, and we also have a sword that is much easier for me to use than the club that I was completely failing with. So those are big upgrades. We're already improving the character. This guy will give us the fireball we want. I grabbed this catch flame too. It's a really bad spell that I don't like. I didn't really register what it was, so I think I just buy it here. And I kind of just look through what else he has at this moment. I grabbed that. We're never going to use that. That was probably a waste of money, but whatever. Not like there's limited money in this game. Especially once you get later in the game and you can farm as much as you want. Okay. Go to the table. Equip both of our fire spells. Very good. So now, just in this episode, we have gotten a sword that we can use. and the ability to throw fireballs, so our offensive capability is a little better. The sword's not really that great yet, but I'm definitely better with that than I was with the club, I assure you. So that's a big improvement just for me. Gut sword. Go downstairs. I was like seeing if Nefeli Lu was here. She like hangs out in that spot. She's an NPC you get in a little while. And then over here you can open this with stone sword keys. I don't think there's anything in there that I want. I might have to look up what's actually in that room, but I'm pretty sure every time I went in there in the other runs, I was not impressed with what was in that room. There's just like one chest with an item that isn't that good. Or takes a very specific character to play, maybe even, that I was not using. Okay. I wait till nightfall here. I don't even remember why I did that.
This way, tarnished. May I have a...
Oh, yes. That makes sense. Okay, so after you're at this point in the game, if you wait until nightfall and go back to Merchant Kale's grace site over here in the first church, he will be knocked out, and this is the character Ronnie over here. She is very important for one of the endings of the game. She basically just wants to like get rid of this Age of the Erd Tree and instill her own Age of the Stars. She's cool. If you just keep talking to her throughout the game, you can get an entire ending from her. Testing out my sword moveset here. I hadn't even played around with it yet. You're not allowed to attack in the round table hold unless you jump to the bottom area. So that's my first look at the longsword moveset in this game. But now we'll talk to her, and she gives you the ability to actually start using your Ash summons. So now we have a spell we can use, a longsword, and we have one Ash summon, being the Spirit Jellyfish. And she will give us the ability to actually use that Spirit Jellyfish. So that'll help a lot. That Spirit Calling Bell is the item you use to call the spirits, and those Lone Wolf Ashes actually aren't bad either. It summons 3 wolves to fight with you, and we've already seen in this episode that those can be a little tricky. So maybe if we set those on Margit, that'll give us a little bit of an edge. Now I'm just equipping my hotbar really quick. I have 1 Ash summon. And then when we reset the area, Ronnie will be gone. She calls herself Rena there, but there's this whole thing in this game with like people using 2 names and like giving you fake names the first time you meet them. It's her name's Ronnie. I reallocate my flasks because now I'm going to have to be able to replenish my magic bar. So now I went with 4 health flasks and 2 magic flasks. He's back awake. Probably didn't even notice a thing that happened there. He still doesn't have anything purchasable for the amount of money we have. I really should have just grabbed the torch right here. I don't feel like I noticed this guy had a torch for a while. Oh, there it is. Cool. Okay, so now we've got a torch. Now we won't have to deal with any dark caves anymore where we can't hardly see. Put that on my left hand, and we can set the brightness back to normal. So whenever we want now, we have a light source in our left hand that we can switch to. And we're off again. Wish I would have grabbed that the first time. Okay, are we going to test out the tree sentinel here? I think we do. Yeah, it looks like we're going to give it a shot. The tree sentinel's really tough. Like, he's a lot harder than any other enemy around here. Except for maybe the guys in the Everjails. But if you're going to fight him with a soul level 1 character like this, you basically need to have his moveset 100% figured out. I'm no master of fighting him. There are a couple bosses I've practiced against a lot, but like, the first time I was playing this, I was using a lot of broken stuff, and I was leveled out properly, so a lot of these fights were just kind of like a couple attempts for me. so I don't really know them that well, even if they're not the hardest bosses in the game. That golden shield he's doing there, basically if you fire like a magic projectile at him, he will reflect it back at you as a very fast yellow projectile, and that will just kill. That would probably kill me in one shot if he hits me with one of those. So I'm trying to time my fireballs when he's not using that, but he can pull it out very quickly, so you have to be really careful. Also, my spirit jellyfish that I summoned also fires projectiles, and he can reflect those back at me as well. So I'm really trying to like not get popped with one of the shield deflections. That would probably be instant death. Those just happen to miss, otherwise the jellyfish would have just gotten annihilated. There he goes anyway. Like I said, it's probably not time to beat the Tree Sentinel for me yet. And here's where I was kind of learning the difficulties of playing with no HUD. So I have no idea how much health the Tree Sentinel has. I could be relatively close to killing him, I have no idea. I probably wasn't. I only hit him with a few fireballs there, and no melees really, but he probably got poisoned at one point, I would guess, from the jellyfish. But Tree Sentinel takes a life there. No big deal. That's the second time he got us in this episode, actually. He got us with that big one in the church earlier. Okay, so we're not going to worry about Tree Sentinel for now. It's not time for him yet. We're just going to go back into the Wolf Cave and try to deal with the Beastmen of Farum Azula. I think I can take him at this point. I've got a weapon that I'm comfortable with. Got the torch lighting up the cave while we run through. We've got a summon, and we have fireballs. So let's see if we can scum this guy. I'm not going to necessarily even try to engage him in direct melee. There's no reason to. I'm just going to keep things as safe as I can when I can. So I'm just going to hang back, see if the jellyfish can hold his attention, and I'm just going to throw some fireballs for a while. Whenever I stop still like that, I'm probably just menuing, but you can't see it because there's no HUD. I'm basically just playing blind on the HUD. The only thing I have equipped in my item bar is the health flask, so that's always where I want it. But I've also got to go into the quick menu in the pause screen and use like my healing flask, or use my magic flask and stuff like that to replenish my health bar. But that's all just going to basically be invisible to you guys. You can kind of hear it clicking around. Okay, so I don't know how that one didn't hit me. That went like right through me. So I'm just trying to lob some fireballs, take this one easy. No reason to be more aggressive than we have to. We'll get into some much fancier boss fights later, but just make it simple on that one. Alright, Beastman down. So that was a lot easier than the last time. Didn't even have to use the sword at all, I don't think. There goes the jellyfish. We get 1,000 runes for that. So that's enough to buy like one piece of armor. That would have been the smart thing to do, but I don't think I do that for a little while. Instead, I just come back out to the forest in front of the Church of Marika that we started at, and I just start farming some enemies. Basically, at this point, I just want to farm some souls and get to the point where I can get some armor. There's also just like some items and stuff out here. These enemies can drop some items, like this one. This is the Lordsworn's straight sword, and that is another one that we can wield right now. It takes 10 strength and 10 dexterity, which is right where we're at. So I can equip that right at this moment, and that looks like a slight upgrade to our sword. It looks like it has 124 to my old sword's 120 damage. So I'll take that. I wasn't even expecting that one. That just dropped by chance. So that gave me a slight sword upgrade. I think they're functionally about the same. They didn't really seem too different between the two. This is Fia, the deathbed companion from the intro. Basically, she just like wants to hug you, and if you accept that, she will take part of your health bar. So I'm not doing that. I want nothing to do with that in this run. Not happening. So we're gonna get out of there, never talk to her again. Back over here. Gideon Ofnir goes into his room over here. He's got like some info for you throughout the game. Doesn't really matter. He basically just tells you about all the shard bearers. At the beginning of the game, there are 4 main ones. You've got Godric, Renala, Rykard, and Radahn. Radahn's probably the most dangerous out of those 4, I'd say, pretty easily. We're probably not going to really try to kill him for a while, if we do at all. It would probably be easier to just go for Godric and Renala and then go to the capital, but then when we get to the capital, you have to kill Morgott, and he's a beast, especially when you're soul level 1, so we'll see how that goes. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to beat this game like this, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Now I thought it was a smart idea to jump down here for some reason. And there's an invader down here that's pretty dangerous. He gives you a bow every time he summons. Later on, we might be taking advantage of that, because that's kind of a exploitable thing he does. He basically just reads your inputs if you try to use magic. Unless he's in the middle of a different action right at the moment you use the spell, he is just going to auto-roll it every time, just like that. A lot of enemies in this game can just read inputs and automatically dodge things like that from projectiles. This guy is very respectable at the beginning of the game. He has a scythe that can kill me in one shot, no question. And then he also has a staff that can do ice spells. He can do Briars of Punishment, which is a bleed spell that goes in like a circle around him. And he also does like ice soul spears. So he can kind of just chain magic like one after another. So the problem I had there was I had some runes on me. That spell's never gonna come, or that item I just picked up is a like dual faith little dagger kind of thing. That's pretty cool, but we're definitely not gonna be using that in this run. I think it takes like 30 faith. We'll never have 30 faith. So like I was saying before, we've gotten ourselves into trouble here because I actually did have some runes on me. And now they're trapped down here with this guy, and there's no way to teleport out. That's kind of just what I was testing, if I could warp out of here, if I like ran into the side room. And nope. The only way to get my runes out of here now is going to be to kill this guy. That's Briars of Punishment. If I get hit by that, it's going to do bleed damage. Bleed damage is very strong in this game. We do not want to get hit by that. This guy is tricky at the beginning of the game. Most people probably fight him at a much higher level than Soul Level 1. But basically I'm in a situation right now where I have to kill him to get my runes out of here, so I'm just going to keep attempting this. He's not the hardest enemy once you learn everything he does. He doesn't really have that many moves. Basically when he tries to hit you with the scythe, most of the time he just goes for like a single swing, or he does a big 1-2 like strong attack that will kill you instantly. But they're pretty readable. He doesn't do too many melee attacks in a row. So you can already see my strategy forming here. I'm basically just trying to catch him using an attack, a melee, or his spell combos. Those ice projectiles, he can do that up to 5 times. Sometimes he'll do 2, sometimes he'll do 3, 4, 5. So you kind of just have to read when it ends and jump in and hit him. So I'm trying to wait for this spell combo to run out. If he does 5, I know he's done. Unfortunately, there we just kind of traded. Don't really even know why he hit me there, but it happens. That's death number 10 for the episode. We're just going to jump right back down here. We're going to fight this guy until I get my runes out of here, and that is my plan. I don't want to lose all these runes. I think I have over 1,000. And he felt doable to me. So basically he just spawns in and bows, so you can get 1 free hit on him every time. I should have just been walking behind that spot and backstabbing him, but I don't even think of that until later. If he does that big 1-2, once it's done, you can definitely always hit him with a strong attack, and if you immediately roll out, he shouldn't hit you with anything. Briars of Punishment is also punishable. He can't, if he does that, he's basically stuck in place for a second. As long as you don't get hit by the spell itself, you can always come in right after and get a free strong attack. Anytime this combo runs out and he's done 5, it's time to attack. He jumped up that time and I hit him out of the air. That was kind of funny. There's the 1-2 attack. He actually rolled out of that one. That was a pretty good move. These NPC summons are kind of like mimicking what like a player might fight like. I like these fights. They're pretty interesting, and they fight in ways similar to a player. Like they can use Estus Blasts themselves, otherwise known as Blasts of Crimson Tears in this game. So if I get his health low enough, you'll see him heal up also. They can only do that one time. So it's kind of like you have to be able to beat like 1.5 health bars. Once you get them below half health, they'll probably heal once, and then they'll be out. And then you have to take out their full health bar again, and then that's the whole fight. While you as a player, like I have access to 6 flasks right now, so I still have the advantage. But he also has infinite magic. He can just do that as long as he wants. There's a limit on how many he can chain at one time, but there is absolutely no limit to how many spells he can do total. So if I was throwing fireballs at him, which were completely useless anyway, but if I were, I would run out of my... Once I ran out of my magic bar and then used my 2 magic blasts, that would be it. I wouldn't be able to throw any more fireballs. This guy will never run out, so that's a big advantage for the NPCs, so it kind of evens out. And he has way better gear than I have access to at this point. Again, this guy's not really meant to be challenged yet. Like, you're not supposed to just jump down here and fight him the second you start the game. You might jump down here and get killed by him and then be like, oh, I'm not going to deal with that guy till later. But I want my runes back, and I always felt like this fight was learnable. He wasn't doing anything too crazy. I felt like I already had a pretty good grasp on it here, so I'm just going to keep repeating this formula until I can figure him out. But you can see all around him are these blood stains. Those are, you can click on those and they'll show you a like 10-second video of a player dying in that area. That's a fun feature in these games. So every single one of those is another human player that died in here. So this guy's got a pretty good body count. He takes a lot of people out, including me. Those ice like AoE things that he puts up, basically if I walk through those, they'll build an ice bar on me, which I can't even see, I don't think. So if the ice bar fills completely, it would do a burst of damage all at once, which might be enough to just kill me straight up, I'm not sure. But I was trying to avoid those as best as I could. You basically just never want to stand in those. Try to always fight him in a different area. So we've already made him use his health flask. He tried to heal again. It showed that he was empty. Briars, that's an opening. That's good. So this guy is on the ropes. We have him about figured out. He has got to be like maybe 3 hits from death, I would guess. All we have to do is play a little safe, hit him a couple more times, and we're good. There's one. Maybe not 3 hits necessarily. He's pretty bulky when you're like a level 1 character with a bad weapon. Say maybe 3 more hits from here would do it. Okay, so that just whiffed weirdly. I don't even really know what I hit there. And then he just turns around and hits us. We got the ice popped on us, so that's bad. We were forced to heal. I was playing pretty well up until that point. That was a pretty big mistake. I just whiffed and he turned around and popped me. His scythe also does freeze damage. So this guy, like everything he has, inflicts cold damage except for his 1 bleed spell. So like every part of his build is built to just get those frost pops on you, and those can really hurt. All right, another hit. We had to be so close there, but unfortunately, I mean that guy had to be like 2 hits from death. We made him drink. He had no more health to replenish. And that's how it ends. I scoot back to drink, and he just pops us with one of those ice spears, and that was it. Unfortunate. That was a long fight. That had to be so close to winning. But that's how it goes sometimes. I just got a little, I think I was getting a little nervous here, honestly, at the end of this fight. I'd never really fought this guy like this before. He wasn't that big of a deal when I was playing normally. I just kind of like saw him and then came back later and it was no big deal. But now that I've kind of learned his moveset inside and out, and these fights are so long now when I'm soul level 1 that I think I got a little nervous there and just made a couple mistakes. So now one more attempt here. This is coming up on the end of the video. See how this goes. Just, you gotta be moving, like, side to side to dodge those. I don't really know what I was doing there. Just, bad play. I remember this being the end of a night, and I was just ready to go. So, that's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I'll be back with another one. Take care.